Well, we should probably introduce you. If they're
Sure.
coming to my podcast or they're on Strategy Marketplace on our channel, then they're going to know at least who I am a little bit. But I was excited that Jake Cohen, who happens to be you're with Detroit Venture Partners, but you're also an owner of Signal Advisors, is on the show. Young guy, talented guy, somehow personable. Somehow I tend to like talking to you. And
We'll see. You haven't had me on an hour podcast, so we'll see if that's true by the end of it.
yeah, well, I asked you this before, but just in case other people would like to know, what got you into, first and foremost, I think the most people that would tune into this would be, this isn't necessarily just for people looking for financial advice or anything like that, because that's not necessarily what I'm doing here. I'm more interested in stories and entrepreneurs, business owners, trying to figure out, what can help each other out. That's kind of where I like to go with things.
Mhm.
So for you being, you went from college into almost the VC space, right? I mean, what's your
Well,
background and how did that transition happen?
yeah, I mean, my background growing up in an entrepreneurial family, I think that's kind of the real relevant background. My dad was always starting companies my whole childhood, and my grandfather was an entrepreneur, and he was in the retail business and the furniture business, and my dad got into business with my grandfather, and they went and started and ran a bunch of retail furniture stores, and then when they sold that business, my dad started business after business for years. And it was exciting to grow up in a family like that, where you saw, these hopes and dreams embodied in an idea. And let's see, he would take me with him, we'd go check out a store, go see a new product, and, like on a business trip, or, and it's just, you grow up with the enthusiasm for entrepreneurship. I think, I like to say if my parents were doctors, I'd probably be a doctor, but, my dad was an entrepreneur, and that's what I saw and knew. And my mom was an academic and an educator. And so I put myself through a lot of school. I think that was probably my mom's influence. I went to undergrad, law school, and business school. And so, but I had the kind of the entrepreneurial drive from my dad and my grandfather. And so, honestly, how I actually got here is I started a company when I was an undergrad, called ugrub.com. It was actually called eatblue.com, which was, University of Michigan. So if Go Blue, this was Eat Blue, and that was a great experience selling door to door restaurants, and it was like Grubhub for college campuses, and so that got me hooked on the tech startup world, and then
Wait a
I
minute,
transitioned.
I'm gonna pause you right
Yeah,
there.
please.
Okay. What inspired you to do that? I mean, I understand that feeling when you see an idea, but what inspired you to all of a sudden, okay, I'm going to deliver food to college kids. I'm a college kid. I'm hungry. I wish somebody would do this for me. How did that start for you?
You pretty much nailed it in terms of, it was from personal experience, but it wasn't a light bulb moment. I have to stop and quit my job or quit school and do this thing because it's such a great idea that I just have to do it and I can't get away from it. It was kind of the opposite. It was more, I felt like, I wanted to start a company. I didn't know what the company was going to be. I had been talking about starting a company for a long time, and it was time. And so I was like, okay, this summer, this is going to be the summer where we start a company. I don't know whether we're going to be baking cookies or mowing lawns, but we're going to do something. And so, I that's kind of some advice I have for people is, if you're waiting for that light bulb moment that's going to like drag you away from your day job or from whatever you were doing in the past, it doesn't always work that way. It's, deciding to start a company and then figuring out what that company is going to be is how it worked for me.
Did you guys have, they started this when I was, I think a senior at my school. They started an entrepreneurship, I want to say a club, which was kind of unique because, entrepreneurship was not really taught when I was in college. I'm a little bit older than you.
We're pretty close. We're pretty
pretty
close.
close. Our hair has about the same amount of gray, I think.
Yeah, I'm 39, so I'm headed on a I'll be 40 in January next year. I wouldn't say that it was the university's programs that got me excited about entrepreneurship. I kind of came in with that enthusiasm, and the programming has really taken off at University of Michigan since I left. But there were some programs there when I was there that were helpful. We did pitch competitions, and I think we might have won $6,000 or $7,000 in these pitch competitions that really, at the time, felt like a ton of money. And so it also forced us to think about our business in a different way. So there's certainly great programming there at the time, but it wasn't like it is today, where it was just an explosion of entrepreneurship on college campuses and you can't avoid it. I don't know of any. I might have known one other friend that started a company when he was an undergrad at the time at Michigan. And now, everybody knows somebody. And so we were a little early for this whole wave.
You say I'm assuming it was you and some buddies. And are you still in contact with those buddies? Do you work with those buddies today?
Yeah, actually, it was me and a couple friends. And it's funny. One of them is a partner in a law firm that actually acts as our general counsel at Signal Advisors, which is awesome. And I trust him more than anybody. And the other friend became the CTO of another company that we invested in. And so it's that was our team back in undergrad. And now we're all kind of working together still in different capacities, which is fun.
So do you think also just, for businesses to grow, because you just said the team and the fact that you're working with these other groups, you think your internal network and sphere of trust in that circle really helps out to propel somebody who's like an entrepreneur or somebody starting a business?
It matters kind of the people you surround yourself with, and the team. The team is so important. It's tough to be a solo founder. Right. People do it. There are stories like it. It can be a lonely existence. It's not what we wanted to do at Signal Advisors, and it's not what we did back in undergrad. I think it's all about having the right team, and doesn't mean you're going to be always on the same page and always in agreement. We had lots of debates. That's a natural. If I think back on how our teams work together, a lot of disagreement, but we work it out. And that's, I think, where you get growth and you push each other and you end up with a better answer. And so, yeah, there's some magic in having the right team.
Sure. All right. So you started delivering food to other hungry college kids. So what happened with that company?
We made a little bit of money on it. I think, probably the biggest challenge, if I look back on it, in hindsight, 2020, is I think we thought we were successful. I think that's the worst thing you can do to yourself is feel like you were successful, because, what pushes you to kind of keep growing and how hard are you going to push, and how badly do you want to build the business? And so we had a lot of fun. It was, but we got to a point where we felt like we were successful, and there were other things we wanted to do. And so we ended up selling the business in 2006. But that company, college kids in Michigan have been using Eat Blue now since 2002. We started it, and it hung on for really 15, 16 years was, how long it had new owners after us. But eventually I think the explosion of Grubhub and Uber Eats in this past pandemic have probably finally made it less a dominant player on campus. But it literally lasted for 15 years after we left, which is pretty cool. And so we wanted to make sure we put it in good hands when we left. Awesome. But it was fun. I mean, I'll tell you what I learned the most from that experience. Door-to-door sales to restaurant owners is a great learning experience, because nobody wants to talk to you. You have something that's going to benefit them. And 90% of the time they try to send you out the door. But if you can get through to them, and if you can have a sit down and actually explain to them why you are the 1% of the solicitors coming in that door that are actually worthwhile to talk to, you get a high close rate and gives you confidence. And it makes you love, for me at least, this, there's a bad word around sales, for some people. And I love sales. And if you don't love sales, you can't be a great entrepreneur. You can't sell your vision to your team to get great team, to get people to join you in your kind of crazy adventure. You can't get investors behind you. You can't get, customers to believe in you when there's nothing there to believe in. And so I would say that was the best experience, was the grind of going in and talking to customers actually was an incredible learning experience for me.